Rastadaya, Rastadaya, Rastadaya. This is the shaka from station to station to tell the generation and the nations. Rastafari. Education is the key. All youth strive for development. Rastafari. Love is the key. You can give them that. Give them that message from me.
Them a wonder how blessed radio do this. I see them come with tongue. Future prophet tell them we locks get longer. Eden heart it and it. Bless radio, you don't know. Pop the good music. Play them.
No cigarette smoking in my room. I still want Marley. Bless FM radio, play good tune.
Ujjayi, Ujjayi, Ujjayi. Welcome to the Wisdom of the Nile show, and we're representing the Earth Center, which is a non-profit organization promoting and preserving chem culture. I am Nahibsa Nesibik, your host for tonight, and my co-host is Sanoon Nesibik. We're both from the same generation, so yeah, you'll be hearing more from him later on.
Ujjayi, everybody.
Ujjayi. Yeah, we wanted to acknowledge and honor and validate the divine world and the ancestors for our existence, and to acknowledge and honor and validate the Prophet Nebnaba, Lamusa Morandenibik, for dedicating his life to bringing the traditional culture to humanity. Now, Nebnaba Lamusa Morandenibik was a Dogon high priest from the village of Burkina Faso, belonging to a lineage of healers, tracing their history back to the Nile Valley civilization. Now, in 1995, Prophet Nebnaba embarked on an unprecedented journey across the globe. After receiving the blessings from the Gulmul royalties, the dignitaries and the traditional temples, and the grand divinities of Kemet. Now, Nebnaba's mission was to bring the knowledge of the existing Kemet temple to the general public for the benefit of humanity. Now, he opened the first school center, he opened the first school, Earth Center, in Chicago in 1995, where he began to take people through the initiative process. Now, the Earth Center began to grow as the demand for authentic knowledge increased. Now, after his transition in 2008, he was referred to as the Makaru, which basically means the truth teller. And you know, as we'll go along, you will see really like how forward he was, like ahead of his time, really, because they say that through his initiation, he actually excelled above some of his masters. So you know, he was exceptional for who he was. So Nebnaba continued. Nebnaba Irita, his son, continued to expand the work of Master Naba to us here in the UK and across the globe. There are currently, say, I think about nine Earth centers across the globe. We have, say, 6 in the USA, currently 1 in the UK, and 1 in Canada. Now, the Earth Center consists of 4 branches. The first branch is the Mtam School of Kemetic Philosophy and Spirituality, where we teach 3 subjects. The first is the Medu Mahit, which the Greeks call it the hieroglyphs, and this is humanity's original language. This language helps us to stimulate the brain to use more than the 10% capacity which the English language or the English dialects, because it's not a language really, limits us to. Katibi is the second subject, and this is where we do our meditation class and yoga. And this class we learn about the cosmogony, you know, the creation story. This is where we learn the prayers. These prayers are more than 75,000 years old. And these are the prayers we use when we're doing our daily zemzems, divine holy days, ancestral days, etc. Yeah. The third class is Sunt, and that's basically we learn how the body functions from a traditional perspective, and the techniques of accessing and diagnosing the body. The next section is the Firefly production, the publishing side of the organization. And in here we disseminate traditional chemic knowledge. We do like the Firefly, the Sunny Side magazines. It actually produces the Philosophy Podium. We have which was basically written by Neb Nubber himself. The Ejpata, which is the Initiatic Tale. That's a very good book, which basically has got like a lot of initiatic stories.
And don't forget the Purification, Book of Purification book. So that's just recently been released, and that was written by Neb Naba and his son Naba Irita, and that's a book about the purification rituals that we go through most of the days of the Deccan, and of any time we do spiritual work. So that will show you, kind of give you a basic understanding of, you know, the steps that you take to purify yourself, you know. So after you've taken a shower, you then purify yourself, you know, with water. And, you know, you can do it with other elements, but, you know, water is available. It also shows you how to purify certain objects.
Yeah.
So, you know, so that's, you know, what everybody wants, really. You know, if you have a spiritual object that you have with you, you know, all the time, then, you know, you want to purify it. So that will kind of give you the basics of that. So yeah, you know, it's very worth buying.
I mean, in the book, though, it also gives you the step-by-step stages of actually doing the ablution and things like that, and actually it's got the prayers and everything written there.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, in the Firefly production, there's also the calendar, which is the 77, the Book of Divine Audience, and that's, well, what would you say about that?
So so we might even kind of come on to that a little bit later as well. Just kind of basically the Divine Book of the Great Book of Divine Ordinances, the 77 Commandments, was given to us by the Neteru, the gods, when you know, when humanity first opened their eyes to know that there was a divine world, and the Neteru, seeing that, you know, humanity was pretty much in a barbaric state, they decided to restart, you know, to restart their creation. But our ancestral godfather, Wissa, you may know him as Osiris. That's what the Greeks called him, and one of the German mispronunciation is Osar. In other African ways of saying it is Uzuri. So yeah, so that's our ancestral godfather. He being, you know, the one who's kind of our lineage, you know, we come from him. So he saw that, okay, you know, I have a link to them, and don't want to go too much into it right now, but, you know, he saw that we had a link, so he, you know, pleaded to the gods and said, you know, give them a chance. And, you know, after some kind of back and forth, you know, the Neteru asking us to make sure, you know, what do we want, you know. So they asked us, you know, what is your agenda? And, you know, we humans, you know, what can we do?
Nothing.
The human brain does not invent. And that might be you know, shocking to people to hear, but, you know, because we've grown up in this society where we're told, you know, such and such person invented this, and this person invented this, you know. But where do all those things come from? You know, the plane Where does that come from?
Well,
You know,
they saw the bird, didn't they?
exactly.
Yeah, and the submarine really was the
Mhm.
whale.
Exactly. You know, it's a copy
Yeah.
of nature.
So we're supposed to be very good at copying, really,
Uh-huh.
and that's all that we can
Mhm.
do. And the 77 basically is more or less like our Bible, because that's the path, really. If we can follow those commandments, really, right, then that would lead us to where we want to go. And so that's a very important things within our initiation, really. We also do like the Mandela of Dendera, and that is where astrology, where you get like the zodiac sign, the symbols. So this is a map of the constellation of the sky. We've also got like videos, video lectures on DVDs, and also audio lectures on CDs. And these are all kind of lectures and things that Master Neb Naba actually did before his transition. And so all these are, well, no, they're very useful kind of things, really, to have in your collection. So if you want to purchase any of those, we will give out the address later on, really, and show you where basically that you can acquire those. So that's the four stages. No, sorry, we've got that was a Firefly production. Sorry, we also got the Ancaster side, really, which is for natural healing. And basically, this is where you can get like your health readings, which is done through, like, say, the Health Channel. So, like, say, if you want to find out about your health and everything's in your life, our ancestors are able to tap into the health energy and basically find out what you want to know, past or future or present, really. But this is a very kind of specialized thing, which is only done through the Earth Center. Yeah. And we've also got like a project in Merita, and that's a program, really, which we're trying to do for ourselves, self-sufficient. So this project basically is trying to, we have a lot of GM products that's Monsanto is basically pushing out there. So the traditional way was always doing things in a natural way. And so the program really is to use traditional farming. We see like you have like the we see like there are a lot of correct people going around saying that they want to dig wells and supply fresh water in Africa. Well, we're also trying to do that for ourselves, really, and that's a part of the project. In what they're actually doing in Merita is basically trying to preserve and do for self, really. So that is the four different kind of areas of the MTAM of the EC. Now, we're going to give you a contact number. The first number we're going to give you basically is the number for the studio. And so if anyone wants to phone in and join in the show and have any contribution to make, we can reach us on 07944431366. And I'll repeat that number again. It's 07944431366. And we'll give you the detail for the Earth Center, and our number for the Earth Center is 0207 175 4144, and the email, the Facebook is the Earth Center UK, and on Twitter is Kepta UK, and the Instagram link is is at the Earth Center of UK, and the website is theearthcenter.org. I'll repeat that again. Is to contact the Earth Center on the London School is 0207 175-4144. Facebook is the Herb Center UK. Twitter is Kepta UK. On the Instagram is at the Earth Center of UK, and the website is theearthcenter.org. Now, every week we try to kind of say give out like food for thought, and it's done like through a proverb. And for this week, our proverb really is, when foolishness is rewarded, knowledge becomes useless. And this was by pt11. And so that's the first link really to our first segment here. We'll just play you a short interlude as we go into our second section. Yeah, welcome back to section 2, and this section here really is a very deep subject really, and we'll be discussing the topic is animalistic memory, and I'm gonna pass you over to our specialist on animalistic memory, Sandun.
Oh my goodness. Specialist, really? Well, yeah. So, as Sen said, it's a very big subject. So, we can only cover, bits and pieces for the full how do you call it, breadth and depth of this concept, John initiation. But yeah, see where we get. So it's animalistic memory, what is it? Some people, will say it's the way human beings are naturally, and in a way, I would kind of agree with that. As I was saying before, humanity in the beginning was very, very barbaric, but more than that, we have to look at it really in today's context. After humans were, became civilized. So after the gods, taught us whatever we needed to know to consider ourselves civilized. At that point, we're then able to really make choices, to reason, to ask questions, to decide, you know, what we want to go for, what we don't want to go for. So in this context, animalistic memory is like it's a way of making excuses and giving reasons, and, you know, doing the same kind of, you know, actions and things over and over again, and then, you know, we get a result, but it's not what we want, and then we do it again and again. We try and get the same, we do the same actions, get the same result, but it's not what we want. But instead of changing our actions, we make excuses. So in the animal kingdom, or in the relation of animals and humans, we have, you know, a good example of a donkey, where, let's say, you know, you're traveling one day, and, you know, you have your donkey attached to the cart, and then you stop for a drink. That donkey sees a tree and it starts eating the leaves. The donkey is enjoying itself, right? You finish your drink and you want to get going. So, you know, you give the donkey a little tap, and, you know, it doesn't really do anything. So you tap it again, you know, pull at the reins, so it moves, you know, to start, you know, taking you wherever you're trying to go. But then it turns back and starts trying to munch on the leaves again. And you hit it again, it moves its head to start moving, but then it goes back. And again and again. Donkeys are very stubborn. So this is, you know, one of the examples that the initiation gives for animalistic memory. But then if we take it into the modern society, we see that this is a very prevalent state of mind. It's a very prevalent behavior. And if you look at, unfortunately, if you look at women in modern society, you'll see that there are many tactics and, you know, things that are played against women to keep them doing the same thing, to keep them making the same excuses, to try to get the same result, even though it's not what they want. Deep down, you know, everybody wants to, you know, to be happy. That's a natural way of being. But the modern society has, you know, all of their advertisements all around. You know, over time, you know, I've managed to kind of block them out. But, you know, you still, every now and then, still see them. And the majority of the ones that stick out, maybe it's because I'm a man, but it's the naked women. You know? Why is that? It's because the modern society, the system, wants women to be naked, to entice men. Now, in tradition, to be naked in front of somebody isn't a good thing, you know. It's an intimate thing, you know. It's for a man and a woman. That's, you know, that's how it should be. Not displayed, you know, in front of the world for everybody to see. So, you know, that's just one example. but I'm sure you can think of many examples that are, you know, geared towards women to keep them down. But then also, you have it going to the side of men as well. So did you?
You know, I was just thinking of another example of animalistic memory from a woman's point of view, and that's just like relationships, basically, where a woman might be in a relationship and she's being abused violently by her partner, and it's not going very well. And you know, she's got a few children with him already, and you know, they're trying to work things out, and it's not going the right way, the way that she wants to see it. So she gets rid of him, so to speak. And then he comes back to her and he makes her promises to say, well, like, you know, he's going to change. And so she believes within herself that, okay, if I have another child for that person there, perhaps that would solidify and make things stronger. But it doesn't. And the previous history of what's been taking place, like she wants to make herself believe that by having that child is going to solidify it, but it just makes it worse, because that person is going to come back and probably do the same thing. And what she finds is that she's end up probably in a worse place than what she was. And you know, she will justify it by saying, well, you know, she felt really right that in doing what she did, it would make him, you know, love her more or whatever. But the thing is, we're always making, as they say, it's about making excuses, getting a result that you don't want, but you're gonna try to justify it by going down the same road. You've done it already, and you're gonna repeat it, trying to think that things are gonna change. But you know that person there because you've had a history with them, really, to see that it's gonna be repetitive again. But you're trying to convince yourself that you're gonna get a different result. And that's just one aspect of from my point of view there.
Yeah, and the sad thing is, you know, the youth of today, it's almost becoming ingrained in them. You know, so even just the other day, outside, you know, my door even, there was a couple, you know, arguing. And you know, the guy was like, oh, you know, you're lying, and you know, everybody says, you know, you're lying, and I stick up for you, and all that kind of stuff. And you know, just to even flip it around, you know, again, just to the male side, that why are you with that person if they're always lying? You know, everybody else is telling you that.
But you want to convince yourself that things is going to change.
You know?
And he's been doing it all the time, really, right? So therefore, that's the animalistic within us, that we're hoping for things to change when you know it's not going to change, but you'll make up all the excuses to try to justify to yourself. It's like because it is like lying to yourself, really, isn't it? You know?
You know, and you know, as I said before, we want to be happy, but and we'll, you know, talk a bit more about that later. You know, that notion of wanting to be happy, but you know, when you're not doing something right, you have to realize and change. You know, otherwise you're just gonna have the same result. You know, if your relationship is hurting you, then change it. Change whatever you're doing in the relationship. You know, if maybe if you come home, you know, one evening after work and you get into an argument, whoever it is, you know, one of you needs to say, okay, I'm gonna go for a walk. You know, separate from whatever's going on, and then you come back. And then, if it happens again, maybe try something slightly different. You know, instead of, you know, trying to do the same action.
Yeah.
Because if you do the same action and you don't get a different result, then that's just the same.
There's something wrong
Just
with
animalistic.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, through like our initiation, that's another example, really, like where we've all journeyed to the stage that we are now. We've sacrificed and given up a lot of things, really, to get to where we are now. And then after initiation, we find that we tend to be looking back at where we were before, and go back there, you know, thinking that, okay, then we're stronger now, really, right? But you're going back to where you was before, and you're going to justify making up excuse that, oh, it's my brethren I saw down there, that's the reason I went over there, really, right? But you knew within yourself, really, right, that they are the weaknesses, really, right, that's going to entice you and bring you down that road. So you knew before you went over there, really, right, that these things probably would happen, but yet you allow yourself to be entrapped in those conditions there, to bring you back to where you're coming from, you know. So
so we kind of, you know, have an initiation. We learn, you know, a process where you have to kind of, you know, you have to have awareness, you know, and through that awareness, you can, you know, you then kind of have a motivation to do something, you know. So if you wake up in the morning, you know, sun is shining, and you know, you realize, okay, it's the morning and I've got the whole day ahead of me. What are you going to do? You've just had that awareness that you're awake and that the day is starting. So do you have a motivation, you know, to get out of bed? You know, a lot of people don't. So that's what we're talking about, animalistic. Maybe you have the motivation. Okay, so I've got to go to work. I've got to go to college. Are you going to take the action to do that? So you've got your motivation. I need to go to college. Your action is what? Getting dressed, you know, having a shower, breakfast, brush your teeth, you know, put your shoes on. If you don't do any of that, then your motivation doesn't mean anything. You know, your awareness doesn't mean anything. You might as well have just stayed in bed. You know? So let's say you've woken up, you're aware, you've got your motivation, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to go to work. You do your action, you know, you get ready, and you're going to go out the door. What if you go out the door and instead of getting the bus, the train, getting in the car, you decide to read the newspaper. You decide to chat to your friend, you know, chat to your neighbour. What then? That's your action. Out the window. You know? There's no change. So if that keeps happening, and I'm pretty sure, you know, that happens in the modern society quite a lot. If there's no change, because all of these things are kind of, you know, linked. So even when you realize, okay, I need to change so that I can, you know, get to college. So if there's no change, then all of the other things are out the window as well.
So you say it's important then, really, right, to, when we're going through certain thing, to assess so that we can, because a lot of people are walking around blindfolded really, that they're not conscious and aware of what's going on around them. And if you're not conscious and aware really, right, then you will keep making the same mistakes over and over again. But once you get to that stage of awareness and you realize that there's something wrong, and as he was saying before, you've got to have that motivation to want to change, because some people don't want to change really. They're happy where they are. You know, it's like seeing someone who's going to church and you try to share information with them, but they're happy to where they are. Although even they realize what you're saying to them has some sense to it, but they're happy where they are. So they don't want to go no further than that. So really, it's like you've got to have that motivation to say, well, if you, as you know, like a running river, you've got to have an open mind, because some people, they close their minds down, so there will never be changes in their life, and therefore they won't take no action to make those changes. So first, as he was saying, there are stages really, right, for every change. It's like if you get knowledge and you don't apply it to your life, then it becomes useless. And our proverb really more or less was saying that really, right, we're rewarded for the stupidity that we do, and so that knowledge and information that we get really, right, becomes useless. And that's a part of the animalistic kind of behavior, memory really, right, where when you take no actions to make those changes in your life, then you are gonna stay where you are, and things will always be the same. You want to say anything more on that, Sanon?
Yeah, we have a saying that if you don't want to go to the temple and pray, then go do some work. You're worshipping the Neteru, the gods, whilst you're working. And if you're listening to this and you have a job and you don't want to do it, go find another job that you do want to do.
So it's pointless staying there and keep complaining, and nothing's going to change, because you're not taking no actions, because you realize that there's something wrong. But you're there every day complaining, it's not paying me enough and this is happening and so forth, really, right? But you do nothing, right, to make those changes. So your life is going to stay the same. And that is, so if you learn and you're aware of certain things, you have to apply and make those changes and take the action to get the changes that you want in your life. And the system, the government, they're very good. They're very good at doing that, because they have us on a string, basically, kind of they give us different parties to vote for, and people believe in them, believing that voting for this party or that party there's going to be changes out there. But throughout our lives, we realize that no matter who you vote for and who's in power, that bigger system, that what it represents, is not going to change for us really. But they have us believing that, and we keep going out there and voting, believing, right, that there's going to be changes. And you can see for the result of it, nothing's going to change, not for our advantage anyway. But we still go back to the ballot box, and we do these things here, thinking that there's going to be changes and things in our lives, but it's the same.
Exactly. So one year, you vote for Labour. I'm going to vote for Labour because they're about labour and work and, that kind of thing. They don't do what they promise. Okay, I'm going to vote for Conservative because, I need money. They're all about money, so I'm going to vote for them. They make you poorer. Okay, I'm going to vote for Labour because, I like this person.
Yeah.
He's shouting the Conservatives down and saying how much, they've kind of screwed up and how poor, people are. And, I just have to trust that, this person that, seems really good, he talks really good. So this guy is going to make everything right. I'm going to vote for them. And you vote for them, and what happens?
Everything stays the same.
Exactly.
Because what's going on there really, when you really look at the people who represent that part of the system really, their credibility is questionable, really, and because there's nothing spiritual, nothing kind of conscious or good about their nature of what their intentions are for us. And so it's questionable, really, like when you compare it to, say, traditional, really, right, where our kingship, that kind of thing, they represent the people, whereas in this world of democracy, it's about for themselves, and we're taken in by what they offer us out there, and there will be no changes, really, like, because, as I say, anyone could be voted into those positions there, and that role is interchangeable. It's like sometimes who has the most money. If you're in that position there, really, right, you can buy your way into power. And so the promises that's made to us, really, right, there is like carrying water in a basket. It doesn't mean anything. Nothing's going to change for us. It's going to fall into their pockets, not ours. But yet we continue believing, really, right, that they're going to change things for us. And yeah, we go back to the ballot box every year or every 4 years when they say, come and vote for me and do this. So these are all part of the animalistic memory of not learning from previous examples or previous thing that's happened to us, and we continue down that downhill path. And it's a very kind of quick path, quick to go down. You want to?
Yes, the downhill path. I can't remember what the saying is. Something about the path of least resistance is always downhill. It's very quick to go downhill.
Mm-hmm.
It's very pleasurable to go downhill. It's a thrill.
It is, yeah.
Maybe it's scary, but gotta get that adrenaline, But really, as we always say, and as many people in traditions know, the path that we want to go on is the uphill path. The path that leads to life, the path of suffering. So we have to suffer. We have to suffer in life. Many people don't want to deal with that. They want that pleasure, to take them away from the challenges that we have in life. But we shouldn't ignore the challenges that we have. Don't make excuses. Face them. As we're saying, if you want change, face the challenges. Struggle uphill. It's it's not even a secret thing in the modern society that hard work reaps benefits. Just look at the modern society. Look at how hard it's worked to take control of the world.
To keep us down,
yeah. Even they have that saying, party hard.
Yeah.
So
Die young.
Exactly. So we can't make excuses if we want to be spiritual people. We have to face those challenges. Be honest. If we're not being honest, then we have to realize we're not being honest, and say, okay, I'm gonna work on being honest. It's very simple. Honesty is, I'll say it, the best policy. Yeah. So, but then there's also, in terms of honesty, there's the intellectual and spiritual honesty side of things. If we're really looking to be more than what we are, we have to have that intellectual, spiritual honesty. If I look at if I'm reading a book and I come across, you know, many things in it and they don't make sense, it's not logical, I have to say to myself, okay, I know that that doesn't make sense. At that point, what are you reading it for? You know? It's just like, as we were saying, you know, with the politicians. If you see the politicians and you know that they're lying to you, be intellectually honest. Know that they're lying and move on. Go elsewhere. Govern yourself. You know? Create your community. In terms of the spiritual honesty, that's all to do with, you know, the perfect model, the divine world. And, you know, again, as we said before, about, you know, the 77 commandments. So, you know, we have many, in initiation you gain many tools. One of them being, you know, or, you know, some of them being the stories that we have. So, you know, you learn the Kemetic cosmogony, you know, how we as traditional people, you know, see the world, how it came to be. We have the 19th of Tahuti, as I said, you know, the day that the divine world gave us those 77 commandments, a guide in order for us to reach where they are, because ultimately that is what the human goal is, to be divine. And if you don't believe me, look at the modern world. They want to live forever. That's a divine quality, but it's a divine quality of the god Set. Set is the brother of Wissa, our ancestral godfather. So, you know, in the modern side, they're creating robots, you know, they've got all these, you know, it's life support to keep you living, you know, all of those things, you know, mechanical hearts. So, in their misguided way, they're trying to get, you know, to divine. But, as we know, that's the downhill path, you know.
Yeah, that was quite interesting, my brother. At the moment, we've got a caller from the international call from the Baltimore, and can you hear us, my brother? Why did you put it on? Ujai,
Ujai.
greetings and welcome to the Wisdom of the Nile show. And we just want to say thank you, right, for giving us your time for this interview. Would you like to introduce yourself to the listeners, please, and just give a brief kind of account of what your name means? Can you hear us properly?
Yeah, I hear you very well. Ujai to all the listeners abroad and close by. I just want to greet you and give thanks for being able to participate. My name is Kanemsa Marisheta Toure. Kanemsa is a name that comes from the Medu, or the hieroglyph language. And Kanem means to join, and Sa is a Neturu of divine prominence, timing. Kanemsa Marisheta. Marisheta means keeper of the mysteries.
Okay, so you're a preserver.
That's the goal. That's the goal.
So I'm sure you've got a lot of knowledge there, then, and information that you can share that you've been preserving, then, the keeper of the knowledge.
Well, you know, I have what I'm allowed to have, and I don't have more than that.
Yeah, we would just like to ask you a few questions, though, if you don't mind.
Oh,
So,
please, please.
yeah,
How are you all doing there? How's everybody doing? How's your families and everybody?
we're good here, really. We've got a happy little family here at the moment. There's four of us here in the studio at the moment. Some have initiated, and some is still on the way to making the journey. But
All
yeah,
right.
we're fine over here now, really. The weather is not too brilliant, but I'm sure you're having better weather over there where you are.
I can imagine. Here in Baltimore, it's about 45 degrees, a little bit of wind, and we're transitioning into spring. But here in the Baltimore Earth Center, we're all greeting you and wishing you well.
Wow, and the same to you as well from us here in the UK. Yeah.
Wow.
Um, we just like to find out, how was you introduced to the EC, and how long have you been an initiate, though?
Okay. Good question. It's been about I've been initiated for 2 years now, and how I came across the EC or the Earth Center was at a actually at a West African dance conference. There was a gentleman from Chicago who was vending fireflies and Master Naba's works, the philosophy podium, and I remember looking through the information and having some familiarity with the pictures, and then having some, my family's from Sierra Leone, having some background in Africa. I was like, well, they, confused about how they were mixing. And then I came to realize later that it was my, I guess, over introduction with the Kemetic philosophy from a colonial perspective, with the Egyptologist, that gave me a skewed vision of what, our tradition is really like. And that was my first meeting with information that drew the link between our higher classical societies and then, our traditions as they are today, as they stand today. About a year later, one Hantini by the name of Samat Sakuhai started a study group at Everyone's Place Cultural Center in Baltimore, Maryland. And anyone who is familiar with Baltimore, Maryland is familiar with Everyone's Place as being a cultural center for those who want to study. They have all the traditional authors have books there. And when Samat started his book reading, we went as a group, several of us, to read the philosophy podium and discuss it. And eventually, being that the EC is governed by deities, they were asked if it was okay we can create a school in Baltimore. The okay was given, and they sent an initiate of Master Naba himself, who you may all know, was Nehez Meniu, who we call Zeshmi, who's the leader of all the schools across the diaspora.
Mm-hmm.
And so he came himself. We put him in a small room. He didn't complain. He came away from his family, and then he began to initiate us. And then the first generation, I came from that first generation, the mayor of that first generation.
It sounded like you jumped him, hijacked him there, didn't
it? Yeah, I mean, it's good. If you're going to hijack anybody, hijack someone with the Naturu in their hearts,
Yeah. So how long was your initiation process? How long did that take, roughly?
That's a good question. Realistically, I can give you a technical time, about a year and some change.
Okay.
A year and a few months. Realistically, it was just based on the initiates being able to pull together and finally amongst ourselves deciding, okay, this is what we want. So,
sorry, was that doing classes, every day? How many times a week was you doing classes there?
Yeah. Well, for the Marishetta, I myself and so we had 3 courses offered us, which you already may know. There's a Sunt class, which is a traditional healing class, the Medu class, which is a class that is discussing the original writings of humanity, which they call hieroglyphics, and also it has some philosophy and understandings of our cultural integrity. And then we have Kad Ibi, which is the course that details how we can develop spiritually and to give us the foundations of cleanliness and prayers, so forth and so on. And so with those three classes, we all decided to take them. We chose to have them on the same day. So our classes were all day. Mostly they were Sunday, if I'm correct. And then from there, we continued that way for months on end. And there were times where I think we changed the day to a Saturday, and we continued, and then finally we pushed through until our initiator decided that we were about ready, and then we had to go through several tests that you may know, and then we went through our graduation rites.
And like, say, how many of you were there initially, like in your study group, that actually kind of say got through?
That's a good question. The study group had several people in it. Two of us went through initiation together and graduated.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we got to the initiation, there were altogether 16 of us who started, and then 4 of us graduated.
Mm. So obviously you didn't find it too easy then?
No, initiation, there's nothing easy about it if you take it serious.
Yeah. So what was your main challenge though, really, say, like going through that process?
Well, to be honest, honesty, self-honesty. Like, you know, today you all are discussing there in the UK the animalistic memory.
Yeah.
And animalistic memory is all about self-honesty. It's about honesty. Why do I say that? Because, you know, I came into initiation thinking I knew what I knew, right? And I was pretty grounded in what I thought I knew. And then when you are challenged with what it is that you think you know, based on knowledge that's not exposed to academia and most areas of conversation and most hallways, you don't hear this information. And then when it's presented to you, and then you compare with the cleanliness and the I don't want to use the exactitude, but when you compare it with what I already had, I saw that there were some inconsistencies in my thinking. I saw that I had some very bad habits. I saw that I was lying to myself about who I am and trying to convince people about who I thought I was. I was proud for the wrong reasons. You know, although I know where my family comes from in Merita, I've been back in Merita. I've seen them, touched them. I know where I need to go if I have a problem. I still had some ignorances even about that because, you know, the reality is we've all been colonized. And so a lot of the information I had was just benefiting those who are oppressing the planet. And then once you realize that either you're going to stop doing that or you're going to continue, that becomes a very hard pill to swallow. You know, so initiation was very difficult for me in me learning how to use the tool of animalistic memory and say, okay, am I lying to myself now? You know, is my mind trying to trick me to continue to doing things that I know is not going to benefit me and my family? You know, there was a constant check. It was a constant now, whereas before I could just walk around and do what I want to do, not question myself as much, you know, but now I realize how much I'm exposed to the existence and that there's nothing that I do that is not being seen and recorded, not by humanity or anything like that. But, you know, just looking at myself, that was the difficult one. And then not only just seeing myself, that's one thing if you're able to see yourself, but then to make the change and actually do your best to evolve, that's where spiritual development takes place. And so slowly there was some growth and development. I mean, I'm still struggling, with being honest with myself, you know. However, it's an ongoing process, and I know the goal, and then I have good people around me who know what they won't do. So that helps in that struggle. You know, I can go to these people as opposed to somebody else who's not even exposed to the idea that they're lying to themselves, or the thoughts that they have are not their own thoughts, that they were put there by someone before they were even old enough to formulate their own thoughts. So having my fellow initiates around me to fall on to with my thoughts and my actions, they are readily there to check me if I'm not doing something correct, and that's what we need in order for us to grow. So I think that was my major challenge, and still is, as an initiate. The honesty and that honesty.
I think probably with all of us, I think probably that's one of our challenges, being honest to ourselves, to kind of say, because I know we can hide to our fellow friends, but you can't hide from the spiritual. And that's where once you're, as you say, once you're exposed to the knowledge, whatever you do, it's there, and you know consciously within yourself really that, you know, that, as I say, once you're exposed to it, you can't say that you don't know. So that guilt is always there with you, really, at the end of the day. But like, say,
True.
in terms of, like, say, your immediate family, how did it impact on them, sort of?
That's a good question. Well, my mother, she's in you know, in the unseen world. So I know she sees the truth of what I'm doing, and I'm getting support from that. My father, he was angry, to be honest, because, you know, he's a very proud Mandingo man, and the Mandingo we have our own culture, we have our own traditions, and I don't think he really understood the concept of why I would change a name that was already traditional in his sense. So my birth name is Ibrahim Touré, and if you're an initiate, you know Ibrahim is not originating from the Arab language. Although, if you ask most people, they will tell you it's Hebrew, or they'll tell you that Ibrahim specifically is Arabic.
Yeah.
So, upon even learning the origin of the name was enough to assist me in my journey forward. But my father didn't take it too well. It was like, you have a good name, you know. But my Touré, I kept my last name because it's still even connected to Touré in the Valley of the King. So
Yeah.
So but he was kind of angry. You know, our ancestors, our family are Muslims from our father's side for the past for many centuries now. So he wanted me to embrace the Islamic or the Arabic culture, and he was happy when I was doing that. But when I decided to make that change, he was kind of angry. The rest of my family members, on the other side, they're mostly Christian, and they know me as a human being. So it wasn't that they thought that I was doing something wrong. It's just that what I'm doing is different.
Mm-hmm.
But I think now, years later, in our conversations, I think they're able to glean from some of the logic that I've been introduced to through the initiation. And I'm giving thanks to Master Namba for his sacrifices in order for that to even come into my hand.
Mm-hmm.
So I see my family are benefiting from it, although they may not have initially liked me having to change my name or anything of or leaving the religion of Islam or Christianity for that matter.
Well, it seems personal to them, isn't it? Because they chose that for you, really, really. So that's, I mean, it's the same thing with I remember phoning up my father and my mum, and saying to them, "This is my new name now," and he goes, I can't pronounce that name there really well. I'll just keep calling you Clive.
Yeah. I can understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just, one of our fellow initiate wants to ask you a few questions as well. Like,
Oh, that's not a problem.
Ujai Hatani, Kasati.
Ujai Kasati.
Yeah, just wanted to know if you could explain to the listeners, what does Ibrahim mean in Medu and what it means in Islam?
Okay. Yeah, and in in Medu in Medu, Ibbi Rahima is a phrase. Ibbi in Medu means heart. And then it has other connotations depending on the level of your observation of that particular um, glyph. For example, if you're a neterhen, if you're a priest, when you see Ibi, you're going to see it in a different level than a person who maybe is not initiated. And then Ra is the next set of characters or glyphs within that phrase. Ra is a netru, and in the Kemetic pantheon, this netru is a self-creating netru, or self-creating god, and or autogenous. And Ra is the first netru in our cosmogony that came from the primordial waters of Noon. And the primordial waters of Noon is the essential soup that contains all things in existence, known and unknown to us, in its potential form. And Ra manifested from there. And then the last part of the phrase is Hema, which means inside of me. So the phrase means, Ibirahima means the heart of Ra is inside of me. That's the original for hundreds of thousands of years. That's the context or the phrase. So later, when we have our new Abrahamic languages, the original languages the original language will filter into these new languages that we see emerging with the Abrahamic religions. And we also can see that because man doesn't create, we can only copy. They copy this name, and then the name and the meaning of it now is not a phrase. It's a name that changes to friend of God or friend of Allah. That's what Ibrahim would mean from an Islamic perspective. Friend of God. Abraham is Hebrew. Abram is also the same meaning, friend of God. And when they say God, they're speaking on a monotheistic God. So, in essence, that's what the name is.
Okay, Duawu. So can you tell me, how does initiation compare to how you were brought up in Islam?
Okay, now there is some inconsistencies in terms of my development, because I was born a Muslim, and then there was a change in my family structure which made me go into Christianity to follow my mother. So I can come from both perspectives. But to answer your question, religions, in my own observation, we see that they're political institutions. Religions are political institutions that speak about the relationship that man should have with their God. And what's interesting is that they express it in a way where man has this ability to, as you even heard the name Ibrahima, to be friends with a divine being that has qualities way beyond the human being's conscious understanding. So just even that within and of itself can show a stark contrast to what I was learning in initiation and how the religions exposed me. I did, in my later years, I did find myself praying 5 times a day. I did go to Juma on Fridays. I did marry in Islam. I did all of those, following the pillars. The only thing I did not do is to travel to Mecca, and so I read the Quran several times, and you know, argued against the other Abrahamic religions based on my knowledge of Islam and Christianity and Judaism, because these things I really wanted to study to understand my spiritual development. And I realized through initiation that within all that I was doing, I lacked true spiritual and intellectual honesty about who I am as a human being. And so the reality is, I didn't even know what a human being was, because Sant helped me to understand what a human being is. And then from being able to be introduced to what our spiritual responsibilities are, being exposed to the 77 divine commandments, show how clean a human being can be if we follow those 77 divine commandments. And when I looked and compared the 77 divine commandments to, for example, the 10 commandments in Christianity or in Islam, what they go by mostly are hadiths that support a man, Prophet Muhammad, who lived a certain life and had intimate communications with an angel who gave him God's thoughts, which became what is known as the Quran today. And that Quran is the foundation of what Islam utilizes as their reasoning to live their lives however they choose to live it. So what I come to find in initiation was that there were several things wrong. One, like for example, I would do my wudu, right, to go pray my salat, but it never occurred to me that maybe my whole body needed to be clean, And then when I learned how to do ablutions, and then the whole importance of making sure that my genitalia and my backside was clean, that changed the dynamics, because now it even showed me another level of cleanliness, because now I'm seeing that in the colonial world, most of us, when we go to the restroom, we're going and we're using toilet paper to clean ourselves, and we're going to wash our hands and leave. But toilet paper doesn't clean us, right? So ablutions and learning how to use water to cleanse myself thoroughly gives me a whole nother perspective on what clean is, to be able to approach the divine world. Whereas I'll be honest, going into a masjid, I might have done my wudu right from work and cleansed my hands, my face, my feet, and said what I was supposed to say for cleanliness, but never even thinking about the fact, there's other parts of me that should be clean. So that's just an example of cleanliness, And then when we talk about something like spiritual or intellectual integrity, what tools was I given in the in Christianity or the Abrahamic religion, outside of examples of somebody's life, that I can utilize to keep myself honest? When I have conversations with fellow persons who are in the Islamic faith or Christians, I ask, well, what tools were you given to keep yourself honest? And there's a lot of conversation and a lot of things that are said, but the reality is I can express several tools that I was given to maintain my honesty. In initiation, we were given that. I can go right, you're talking about one today in terms of animalistic memory. Mm-hmm. And then not only was I given the animalistic memory, I was given questions to ask myself when I'm in a situation where I might be more emotional than I need to be, in order to have a logical thinking about the situation that I'm in. And initiation allowed me to realize how emotional as a human being that I am. So that was something that I wasn't even exposed to. In the United States, I don't know what it's like in the UK. I'll visit soon, believe. But in the United States, people are taught to be very emotional here. And I think that it helps to it helps to increase the status quo. It helps to make things continue to go on in a way where we can observe is destructive, but don't do anything about it except for get, emotional. And even in our emotion, there's no set plan, So I learned through the initiation, hey, you are very emotional, and these are some things that you need to do to check your emotions so you can allow your brain to think its way out of this issue, as opposed to argue or fight or run or be angry. These things that should come after the plan, after your logic has found a solution, then your emotion can come and participate. And I think that small little key is, we see the destruction of the whole world based on that one little key we were given in initiation that most people on the planet don't have. How do you check your emotions? Like, what is it that you utilize to do that? And then some people think that they're supposed to be emotional. Well, that's just who I am. And I learned that that's not just who you are. You're more than that. The human being has the ability to create some of the most divine structures, institutions, medical breakthroughs, scientific, and I'm speaking from a traditional cultural sense and not a contemporary sense, of high culture and respect for humanity. And if we have evidence that human beings have lived in that way, and what was it that they were doing? And that's what we come to find in initiation.
Duo, son. So it's Sonnen here. I was just wondering, what generation were you from worldwide?
Oh, good question. That's we were the 45th generation.
Okay. So yeah, I can call you Hartony. That's good. Yeah, I have trouble keeping up with the amount of generations we have now. So very inspiring.
Yeah. But we were toggling 45th, 46th for a while because the way that our structure is, you can't graduate before another school who has their graduation already lined up before yours. So yeah.
Yeah. I just wanted to because you mentioned about that phrase, what you won't do, and it brought to mind that a lot of I hear in modern society a lot that who you are is what you do, so could you speak a little bit on that subject?
That's a good question. I agree with you, and I agree with your observation. That's what most of us in society are geared toward. Even thinking about when I meet my mate, I told her everything that I was going to do. Look, first I'm going to take you here, and then we're going to go do this, and you see, and people we have been conditioned. I have my goals, but we're conditioned to be con artists. We're very good at conning people. We're quick to make people think about what it is that we want to do, but we conceal what it is that we won't do. Mm-hmm. And some of us don't even know what we won't do. And that's just a general, concept. But then when you have a situation where you say, these are the things that I will not do because I want to go to this goal, that's something different. And when we are presented with 77 divine commandments that say, listen, I will not lie, I will not fornicate, I will, when you have these things that keep you rooted, I'll not be angry without just cause. When you have these things that are in your mind that you say, okay, I'm not going to do that, then the person who's around you, your neighbor, they're blessed because they're around a human being, Mm-hmm. That's why I don't mind. And all of the initiates that I deal with, I'm clear that they know, if they're even, maybe there's not everything they can follow in the 77 divine commandments, but they know what it is that they're not supposed to do, and they're trying not to do that. I feel more comfortable. I know I'm more comfortable in a situation with these people as opposed to a person who doesn't know what they're not going to do until they do it. You know, and then you see most of the drama that happens between people is because, you know, they didn't know that the person that they were in a relationship with, whether it be a platonic or a romantic or you know, a relationship between teacher and student, they didn't know that that person that they were dealing with was capable of doing this or that until they did it. And then now, oh man, you hurt me, or why did you do this to me? How could you? So, you know, all this is avoided when you have a structure that says, listen, if you just do your best not to do these things, you have an ability to get closer to the divine world. The closer you get to the divine world, and if you cannot harm what is in the divine world, how much of a blessing is it for those who are around you? They won't be harmed as well. So it's a very big thing. Your observation is clean, and I think that the more people are exposed to what can keep them from harm's way, then, and those who are honest about wanting to be out of harm's way, they find the 77 divine commandments are just that. You know, they help you to raise your intelligences to protect yourself.
So how does the 77 commandments compare to what you've experienced in religion?
Excuse me, I didn't hear the first part of your question.
I was just saying, how does the 77 commandments compare to the you know, the structures of religion and guidelines that they have?
That's a good question. I think it's the 77 divine commandments. For those who are not familiar with the 77 divine commandments, I would say that these ordinances were, in the traditional concept, given to humanity to help them to be closer to the divine realm. So the divine realm revealed themselves to humanity in a state where humanity was at its at a very low place. Cannibalism, humanity was not utilizing their intelligences, and the divine world, the entities in the divine realm made themselves apparent to humanity, and they asked humanity, what is it that you want? And humanity said, we want to be like you. And the divinities responded, how can you be like us? When you take a fresh breath of air, you breathe out carbon dioxide. You're corrupt. You get this, you ingest it, it comes out as waste. You're corrupted. How can you be like us? And they said, well, we want to be like you, because man cannot create, we can only copy. And we wanted to copy the divine world. And the divinities, one specific divinity we call Wisr. In Egyptology, they call him Osiris, and you might even hear his name is Asor, chose to receive different laws, for lack of better words, to help the humanity grow. And after they were collected, we have a day we call the 16th Tehuti, where the Neteru Tehuti brought forth these ordinances for humanity. And when the humanity received them, we call them now the 77 divine ordinances. And if humanity is able to follow these ordinances, they will be able to get closer to the divine realm. So this is the foundation of where we see now humanity having the ability to use their intelligences to be like what we see in nature, the order that we see in nature, nature coming from the word neter. We see the order in nature, we see the order in the universe, or the multiverse, or we see the order in the existence, excuse me for those terms, the existence. And we can see that there's an organization and there is balance. And these 77 divine ordinances are there to bring that. And when we look at the Abrahamic religions in comparison, what is interesting is to see that it seems as though they're an anti-spiritual movement, because whereas now we have 77 divine ordinances to bring humanity together, regardless of your race, color, or your creed, you now have political philosophies that say if you don't follow this one monotheistic neter or God, or this one, then you are evil, then you are a witch, or you are a devil worshiper, or you're going to hell, using fear as a tactic to get people to get people to embrace it. Not only that, but demonizing the other aspects of the traditions so that they can garner followers. And we can look at the history of them all and see the wars that have been created on the planet based on that type of thinking. That it's anti-spiritual when you have a crusade across the planet and kill millions of people. It's anti-spiritual when you go across the planet through jihad and conquer lands and kill people in the name of your God. It's anti-spiritual when you convey yourselves as the economic masters of the planet and keep the lion's share of wealth. What is that? So when we look at the Abrahamic religions, they individually fought and destroyed all of the major traditional pillars that they borrowed from. And then when it came to the lion's share, then they began to fight themselves, which they still do to this day. So we see that the original 77 divine commandments and humanity was in a place where the world was connected and culturally with cultural integrity, spiritual integrity. But what we have today is not spirituality. We just have we have good people who I think sincerely want to get closer to the divine. However, the process that they've been given to do it is stunting their spiritual growth, as opposed to giving them the tools to allow them to develop spiritually. And I say that because if you don't have a concept of what happens after the human being is dead, then there's a problem with the spiritual development of humanity. And most of the Abrahamic religions that have these nice theories about what happens, but in actuality, none of it can be shown to be proven. And then the question will come to you, well, can you prove that this is what happens when people pass? And we can say yes, because we have technical skills to communicate with those who are no longer visible on this plane. Simple. So that's what I would say in relationship to the comparison of the 77 divine commandments with what we see with the Abrahamic religions, and not just the Abrahamic religions, but because they are the major ones. Those are the ones that we see dominate the planet, and then we all see the state of the planet.
Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, well, do for that. That really kind of adds to the whole subject. We're speaking about animalistic memory. So, Hatani Kasati.
Yes, Hatani. Just wanted to know, what is life like in Baltimore? I've not been to Manu before. So, what is life like in Baltimore, and how did that affect you joining the EC?
Okay, good question, Hatmai Kasati. Baltimore is a unique city on the eastern seaboard of the United States. I came here in the early 90s to go to college. When I first got here, the ethnic population was during the day was mixed with Asians, Africans, mostly African American, and some small percentage of Latinos. And at night, the percentage of the population was mostly all African American. So it was like what I would witness is that around the end of the workday, most of the Caucasians would leave the city and go out into the suburbs, into their places where they lived, and then most of the people that stayed in the city was African American, which was kind of interesting to me coming from Philadelphia. And there's Baltimore is known for a high level of homicide amongst African American population. Right now, the city is going through I don't know how we call it. The people are being relocated to different parts of of Maryland from the cities, which I think we call it gentrification. And we see that is happening.
Yeah.
We have a lot of homes that are in the city proper that are abandoned. That you can go 3 blocks over and you'll see a prosperous community, which is really interesting. So the dynamics of Baltimore are very interesting. Right now, the mayor is under scrutiny for making money on a book that she wrote. The police department is under scrutiny for a lot of the killings of African American males. I think that now there is a change in terms of the inner city, the inner harbors, where it's trying to build up its economic base there. The school system is unfortunately riddled with inconsistency, and we went from pretty good public schools to now public schools that are broken down and charter schools share buildings for education. However, we still have in the outskirts of this city and within the city proper some excellent schools that you have to have a strong academic background to enter, and then private schools in the outer reaches where you have to have a lot of economic resources to participate. So, unfortunately, across America, education is not desirable in terms of. I wouldn't send my child to a public.
Are you still there, Hatsune?
Can you still hear me?
Yeah, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I think another call.
No. So can you explain how
So Baltimore
has the head mayor of Baltimore, how do you reach out to people in the community that obviously need this type of spirituality?
Well, that's a struggle. That's a struggle. I found out as a young man, when you have people who are struggling to survive, it's very difficult. If you're not feeding a person, it's very difficult for them to have the time to hear what you have to say. That's just one of the realities I've come to know. Like if you have some brothers on the corner and they're hustling, you can't go up to them and say, listen, you need to stop hustling because you're killing your clientele. That makes perfect sense. But at the end of the day, you're not feeding their families. That's the reason why they're out there. It's not because they want to sell drugs or it's a fun thing to do, but they need to survive. And in their minds, that's the way to do it. So I think that is an excellent question because the initiation, what I've come to see is that what it does is it attracts the seeker. It attracts the person who is seeking spiritual growth and development. And so if you come across the Earth Center, no matter what part of the world you're in, it's because you were seeking. Not so much that, we can go out, because you can speak to 100 people about the Earth Center, and some of them will see the sense and the logic in it. But if, let's say, they have a following and they know that their following isn't going to be able to be honest about what it takes to be a chem, then they're going to keep their following and not do what they know is to their better spiritual option. But what I see is, Hot Mai, is that it's the seeker who is finding the Earth Center.
Yes, definitely. So how could you wrap up our topic on animalistic memory?
Okay. First, I just want to thank you all for doing what you're doing there in the UK. You initiates pulling together and trying to make the world aware of the information that you have. So I want to thank you and your ancestors for guiding you on that path, and then also want to thank my initiators and my Hatani that are continually to help me and stay focused, and also want to give respect to the Makaru for his sacrifices and all the Makarus that have come before him that have done the same for the same path and the same goal for humanity. So to answer your question, I would say that, to wrap it up, I know you guys introduced the concept of animalistic memory. And it's basically when a human being is born into an environment and they learn. They're a product of their environment. And so, we just copy until what some people say, fake it till you make it. You just copy it until you do it on your own. And so when a human being is in a state of ignorance and knowledge comes to them, we have options at this point. If we follow the knowledge and act upon it, then we evolve. That is the state of evolution. So if you learn about how evolution can be a blessing to you, and you say to yourself, you know what, I'm going to learn how to purify myself so that I can be pure when I go to greet my ancestors in the Netaru, then you evolve in that. However, you have an option as well to choose to change your mind or create an excuse on why you shouldn't be pure or why you shouldn't clean yourself. And when you create that excuse and follow that excuse, then your brain begins to devolve or degenerate. And when you have those consistent excuses that you create for yourself, it creates a memory within the body that it goes to default, that your body just goes to default. And that is called animalistic memory. That's when you are no better than an animal, because of the ability of the human being to rise to such a high state in the existence, as corrupt as we are, we have this animalistic memory that helps us to stay corrupt. So I would just like to say to those who are understanding the concept or hearing this concept, to try to do your best to evolve. When you get information and knowledge that's going to help you to grow, act upon it. And if you find yourself creating excuses, then you are degenerating right there and then. And then maybe you should try to evaluate what you're doing with yourself and be a little bit more honest. So that's all I could say about that. And again, we want to thank you all for what you're doing, and we greet you here from Baltimore.
Nini?
Duawu, yeah, that's very kind of informative, really. Very interesting interview there, really. Very strong words, really. And it is a strong topic, really, because we all fall into this kind of same path, really. If we're not kind of conscious, really, we will degenerate and fall back into an empty stage of where we're trying not to kind of to reach. So we just like to say, give you our wishes to you and your family out there in Baltimore. And pray that you continue the work as head mayor. Is it head mayor of Baltimore?
Yes, Naterdua Tui.
Well, and yeah, so hopefully in the future, we might try to contact you again for a continuation.
I owe UK a visit. Let me just say that. Let me humble myself and try to get there. But I want to go to Merita first. Don't be vexed with me.
Have you not been to pilgrimage then yet, Hatsani?
Pardon?
Have you not been to pilgrimage yet?
I have not.
Okay.
I have not.
Okay. Maybe we'll meet there. I've not gone yet either.
Yeah, so that's our goal.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
I also want to give also thanks for Iritashem Zira, which I know he was your teacher there, wasn't he not?
Yes, he is.
So we want to also acknowledge uh, Hatani Irta, who is now, responsible for a lot of the spiritual responsibilities for our school. So we want to also acknowledge him. So,
Yes.
all
Okay.
right.
Dua
So,
wu neta
Joao.
dua up to dua
Okay,
iriru.
Michael.
Mate,
And yeah, that was our initiate from Baltimore, giving us some wise words. And yeah, we would just like to kind of go to another section now. We would just like to read out the numbers first of all before we go on to the next stage of our show. And basically our contact number again is 0207 175 4144, and this is for the Leighton Temple we have in Leytonstone there in Leighton. And the Facebook contact is the Earth Center UK, and Twitter is Kepta UK, and Instagram is at the Earth Center of UK, and the website is theearthcenter.org. And we just like to kind of repeat our proverb again, really, and that when foolishness is rewarded, knowledge becomes useless. And as Atini was saying there, really, when you get the knowledge, we have to act upon it and put it at the forefront and not put it behind, because it's that stage of evolving or degeneration. So what we're trying to do with our life and to uplift ourselves, because all the system teaches basically is religion, which is not really taking us nowhere. And they're forgetting the most important thing, really, right? That as they say, we don't just live once, and in spirituality we learn that, really, right? So that, as you were saying, the 77 is not something that we're probably able to complete in one lifetime. And so we know that we come back again, really, here to try to fulfill that, to elevate ourselves to a higher self, So yeah, for the next stage now, we would just like to have a event.
yeah, so I just wanted to mention an event. Well, not an event, but basically we've got Biwali Earth Energy readings that are now available. And the Biwali energy readings they're basically, it's the traditional divinations that are done by the Dogon priesthood. And so we read the Earth's energies, and because humanity is connected to the Earth, we can then read and see how your life is going, what you need to change, all of those kind of aspects of your spiritual self. So the readings are intended to assist one, with your life, to bring you into energetic harmony and to help you evolve spiritually. So it can deal with things such as your relationships, your career, health, family, ancestors and dead relatives. So the dates that are available are the Friday 29th of March, Saturday the 30th of March, and Sunday the 31st of March. What will happen is you need to contact the Earth Center. So for inquiries or to book, please telephone 020 71 575 4144 or email UK Ancaster, that's UK ANKHKASTA @gmail.com. Please contact us and give your name, your email address, your contact number, and your Skype details, as it will be held over Skype. So the reason it's on Skype is, you can be in your own home, and you'll have an intermediary between you and the priest, who will be in Merita, traditional Africa. So so those details will be going live, or possibly live on some of the social media, and will be published right now on the Earth Centre Kemetic Mystery School UK meetup, and on the Coventry. Just waiting for some, but we'll give you the details of Coventry. So the address is 18 Biggin Hall Crescent, CV3 1GS, just in case you want to go down there. And the two telephone numbers: mobile 0739 599 5944. The mobile again is 0739 599 5944, and landline 0247 6266 859. Again, the landline is 024 762 668 59. So next, we have our darling sister, Timise, and she's going to be doing the last section, and she's going to be reading. What are you going to be reading?
The Dog and the Monkey.
The Dog and the Monkey.
Speak up.
You dry listeners. The story I'm reading today is by Nabala Musa Morindengbig, and this is the story that would have been read around a campfire at nights, and it's called The Dog and the Monkey, and it's in Firefly magazine, volume 57. Whenever the nature of the dog and the nature of the monkey is, whatever it is, we can say that the two animals intrigue us. The monkey, honesty looks so much like us. We cannot observe a monkey without asking ourselves if there is a human being within a monkey, or if within every human being there is a monkey. When it comes to a dog, he always impresses us with his intelligence and his faithfulness. In one way, a dog shows through his behavior what we would hope to see from our neighbor or our friend. For a human being, the world will be a beautiful place if every neighbor or dog being was a dog. If every neighbor or human being stayed attached to us despite our abuse and neglect, if the neighbor was accepting to go through our moods, insults, and only expect from us pity, and if he wasn't returning our insults like a dog, the world will be the closest image of our ideal. There is a mystery in the relationship between these two animals that are linked to us in many ways. These animals represent diverse aspects of a human. There's always a sense of competition, hatred, even antagonism every time one of these animals find themselves in the presence of the other. The monkey and the dog do not love each other. They hate each other. Whenever they met in nature, the monkey always finds himself forced to climb the closest tree, while the dog stayed on the ground barking fanatically. And every time the monkey can, he always abuses the dog from the heights of the treetops. they are in reality mortal enemies. There are many legends that explain the origin of their hatred for each other. But today we will try to understand why the monkey and the dog hate each other so much. We will simply talk about the episode of the rivalry between them. One of the legends from our village tells us one day a monkey decided to prove to a dog that he was not as intelligent as the human being believes. For the monkey, there has always been an injustice through the fact that the human being always made the dog his best friend, while the monkeys resembles human beings hundreds of times more than the dog. There is no doubt that a dog can kill a monkey, but if the human being has succeeded in dominating other animals despite the fact that he has no fur, horns, or gills, etc., the monkey can also succeed in dominating the dog by using his brain. The monkey decided that he needed first to isolate the dog. After the isolation of the dog, it is necessary that the monkey create an ally that is capable of devouring the dog. But the truth is that there is no animal capable of devouring a dog that was not at the time capable of devouring a monkey. The monkey decided to make friends with a leopard on the basis that he could offer a dog to the leopard for dinner. But the leopard from the point of the forest, from the depth of the forest, has never met a dog. Asks to the monkey, "My new friend from the top of the trees, tell me, what is a dog?" To that question the monkey answered, "A dog is nothing but a loudmouth, a lot of noise, a very weak being, stupid and incapable of climbing trees." The leopard has, after silence, asked another question, "Is a dog good to eat?" "Oh, absolutely," answered the monkey. The monkey agreed with the leopard on an area in the forest where the leopard would wait. The monkey would go and provoke the dog. He knew that, as usual, the dog would chase him, and they would run towards the area where the leopard would be waiting. When the dog arrived, the monkey would then climb the tree, and from the height of the tree, he will observe the leopard eating the dog. For the monkey, there couldn't have been a plan that was more sure and more intelligent than this one. The monkey imagined all the aspects of his plan and made sure that the dog would never survive. The leopard does not know what a dog looks like, but he will like to eat a dog. The dog will never resist the instinct of pursuing and chasing the monkey, catching him and eating him. The monkey knows that dogs do not climb trees. As long as there will be a tree nearby, he will always have to climb it, and he will be safe. For the monkey, this was a chance to at least observe the dog while he was being eaten by an animal stronger and more ferocious. When the day came, he decided to apply his plans. The monkey simply climbed down the tree and went straight to the nearest human habitation. He walked in the middle of the path with a dry nut in his hand. It did not take very long for a dog to see him and start barking and running towards him. The monkey, so sure of himself, waited for the dog to come to a reasonable distance before he started his run towards the forest. The monkey was running while making sure that the dog was still behind him. Every time the dog appeared to slow down, the monkey would stop and cover him with insults. The dog then would get angry and start to run behind the monkey. They pursued each other for long hours, and when the monkey made sure that they were deep enough in the forest, he simply climbed a tree and started moving from branch to branch while calling the leopard. "Hey, leopard, where are you? I brought you a feast. He's all yours." By hearing these shouts from the monkey, The dog quickly understood that he had fell into a trap. He looked round, but could not recognize where he was. He was lost and could not even find the directions to the village. On the ground he could only see bones of diverse animals that without a doubt had been a feast of ferocious animals of the forest. He wanted to turn round, run, but could not decide which direction to run. While in the moment of panic he was observing the diversity and quantity of the bones and skeleton on the ground, he heard a very resounding roar and heard the steps of a big leopard that was running towards him. The dog knew that he could not run faster than this animal. Very quickly he developed a trick. He pretended he didn't see the leopard coming. He sat on the floor and turned his back towards the leopard. When he sensed that the leopard was close enough to hear his voice, he took one bone from the ground and started sucking at it. This leopard I just ate was very good. I wonder if there's another leopard left in this forest I could like to eat more. Hearing what the dog just said, the leopard suddenly stopped in his momentum and ran in the opposite direction. In his panic, the leopard sprinted like an arrow. When the dog turned around, he only saw the dust. He then sighed. Whew. The monkey from the top of the tree observed the leopard running. He asked himself, what could make a leopard run so fast in front of a dog? He pursued the leopard, trying to comfort him. Are you the mighty leopard? You cannot run from a dog. You cannot run from a dog. Stop. When the monkey succeeded in stopping the leopard, he explained what he heard the dog saying. It's a bluff. It's a bluff. He scared you for nothing. Leopards eat dogs, said the monkey, almost out of breath. Look at the size of the dog. A leopard can kill 10 dogs without breaking a sweat. The monkey knew that the dog was lost in the forest. This is a chance for him to avenge himself. If he could convince the leopard that dogs were not as dangerous as he believed. Knowing that it was difficult to convince the leopard to go back towards the dog, the monkey told him that he could promise not to devour him. If he promised not to devour him, he would accompany him to the dog, just to prove that dogs are not as dangerous as leopards are. The leopard promised not to devour the monkey. For the monkey, the situation was becoming very interesting. He imagined what the dog would feel if he sees that the monkey and the leopard were together. The idea seduced the monkey. To make such a great impression on the dog, the monkey asked the leopard to climb on his back. The leopard did not see a problem, since the monkey was taking him where he could eat a big meal. While the monkey was riding the leopard, he spent a lot of time explaining to him about the nature of dogs. Dogs are the best prey for leopards. They bark every time they are scared, but they can only bite those who do not have protection. He explained everything he knew about the dogs and slowly about the leopard, and slowly put the leopard at ease. While the dog was trying to find the way back to the village, he heard the distant voice of the monkey. He raised his eyes, and from afar he saw a monkey riding a leopard. He realized that his situation was becoming more complicated. He quickly decided to come up with a new trick. He just sat on the ground, and with his back towards the leopard and the monkey, he waited until they were close enough to hear his voice, and he started complaining. I knew I shouldn't have trusted that stupid monkey. It has been a long time that I've been sitting here waiting for him to bring me the leopard he had promised. I told him I had eaten all the leopards in the forest, but he promised me that he can bring me another one. Hearing these words, the leopard ran back, and while the monkey with the monkey on his back was shouting, "Don't listen to him! Do not listen to him! He's lying to you!" The leopard was running faster and faster. The monkey was forced to grab the fur of the leopard, I was telling the leopard that they are far enough and that he could stop so that he could get down. The leopard answers, I don't know if dogs are edible, but a monkey on my back is easier to eat than a dog. I don't know. Huh? Said the monkey. The leopard repeated, the one I can eat is more attractive than the one I would like to eat me. To these words, the monkey simply jumped off the back of the leopard. He fell in the bush and quickly ran towards the closest tree. It is said that this is how the monkey made a new enemy for himself in the forest. When it comes to the relationship between the dog and the leopard, one does not know if the leopard has ever met a dog. Every time a leopard devours a dog, he may be telling himself that this is not a dog. So the moral of the story is more or less not to, as we was talking about animalistic memory, not to be fearful and worried and imagine negative thoughts in your mind, as we see the monkey set a trap for himself, and he fell into it because of his own superstition and jealousy.
Docent. Yeah. Building those monuments. Gotta be careful. So we've come to the end of the show. And I'd just like to tell you all the details again. So the Earth Centre in London, the telephone number is 0207 175 4144. That's 0207 175 4144. The email is umtamuk, which is MTAMUK at theearthcentre.com. Centre spelt with an ER. Facebook is the Earth Centre UK. Twitter is Keptah UK, which is KEBTAH UK. Instagram is at the Earth Centre of UK. And the website is theearthcentre.org. The address for London is 21 Sunnyside, Leighton, E10 7BB. The Coventry details are 02476 266 859. And mobile number is 073 9599 5944. The address is 18 Biggin Hall Crescent, CV3 1GS. So that's the end of the show this week. I'd just like to thank all of the initiates.
Yes, from Nehipsa, I would just like to say thank you and to acknowledge and validate our ancestors, to the Netters and the Netteroos, and to the Makaroo for giving us the opportunity to enlighten ourselves with the knowledge that is put out there. And it's our duty to try to continue so that others out there really kind of are well blessed like we are to be able to get this knowledge. So from me, the Hipsa, Duau and Iri Iru.
Duau, everybody. Iriru.
Iriru.
Yeah.
Oh, just one thing. We forgot the proverb.
Well, go for it.
The proverb is, when foolishness is rewarded, knowledge becomes useless.
Yes. And also, before we forget as well, we'd like to give thanks to Bless for giving us the opportunity for this platform. And hopefully we will see you all, you would hear from us again in the forward, not in the next, not in the...
In the next little while.
Yeah. And we'll just play you a slight interlude to go out on, and we'll...
Here we go.
Here we go.